Hello, movie patient, and welcome to Film Therapy. I am Brienne, also known as Miss Movies, also known as your film therapist. I am not a real therapist, but I play one on the internet just for this show. And as with every session of film therapy, I have a guest patient. And today, my guest patient is Robert Meyer Burnett. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, Doc, I
You
have
are here.
I need some help.
Okay, good. That's why you're here.
It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for staying after 6 degrees. We just did 6 degrees of feature film with Stacey Howard, and now we're doing film therapy. So we're switching gears.
I'm uh I'm ready to be psychoanalyzed.
Okay, great. Here's how this show works. If you have never joined us before, I ask the patient, the guest patient, 3 questions about film. They're the same 3 questions every time. What is a film that inspires you? What is a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it's painful, maybe it's happy. And what is a film that helps you through difficult times? So I started this show because I do suffer from depression, and I find that movies help me escape and kind of cope with that.
Me too.
And
I don't suffer from
it's
depression, but
it's kind of more of a the more I'm watching movies, the you know that something's going on. You know,
right.
you're like, oh, what's happening? Let's talk about this. Um, but I do want to say my disclaimer at the top: I'm not a real therapist, and if you are having a problem, please call 911 or call your doctor or call someone that can help you and get the help that you need it right now.
Or Ghostbusters.
You could call them.
They're ready to believe you.
Okay, good. I'm glad that they're ready to believe you. So before we get into that, I want to know a little bit more about you. Tell us.
Well, I was a lifelong movie fanatic.
Hmm.
I started working in home video stores when there really weren't any. There was like one or two in the world, at
Right.
least in
This was
America.
before Blockbuster.
Way before
Hmm.
Blockbuster. And so I grew up working in video stores, and then I was a Laserdisc retailer. Then I
Oh,
moved to LA to go to film school
okay.
in the late
It's
'80s,
the
and
best film school ever.
I went to the Evergreen State College in Washington State, then transferred to USC,
Yes.
which was very odd. It was a great juxtaposition of going to a really crunchy, chewy granola hippie liberal arts school, and then
Yes.
going to like Nazi college at the
Yeah, the
time.
opposite, the
It
complete
was
opposite.
complete opposite. It was crazy, but I loved USC. It was a lot of fun, and now it's
Hmm.
unrecognizable. The technology they
It's
have,
insane.
it's amazing.
Walking around there is like,
The film school is unrecognizable.
it is.
I'm like, what the hell happened? But it's great. I
I
mean,
would really I wish that I had a lot of money and could like make a theater school because they're still in the PE building, which is
yeah,
like shared with the ROTC people.
yeah, it's
And
crazy.
they also have this like old lawnmower house. Like they have this
No, it's true.
crappiest stuff going on
It's
there.
true. It's true. Yeah, it was great. And then I was lucky because right after I got out of film school, I got a job on my first movie, which
Wow.
was I was the art department assistant on Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. That was the
Whoa.
third one.
Right
Not
before Matthew
Yeah,
McConaughey.
that was not Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger. Everyone thinks it was. And then I worked at Warner Brothers after that in feature production. I worked for the senior vice
Mhm.
president of production there for a couple of years, Bill Young. I worked on movies like Clint Eastwood's The Rookie with Charlie Sheen and Gremlins
Mm.
2 and Bonfire of the Vanities and Nothing But Trouble and My Blue Heaven and Doc Hollywood, these crazy movies that Warner Brothers made in the 90s, early
Doc
90s.
Hollywood was with Michael J. Fox,
Yes,
right?
with Michael J.
Okay. Just
Fox.
making sure.
Um, all that stuff. And then I worked at like Full Moon Entertainment and I became a film editor and did all kinds of low budget film work. And I read a lot of screenplays professionally. I was a reader. It's a thankless job. You have to read scripts for people that don't
Hmm.
want to read them themselves.
I,
And
I
then,
did that once.
oh yeah, it was not good. And then, although I read thousands of scripts. And then I, started making low budget films and I directed my first feature that came out in '99 called Free Enterprise. And then after that, I was a producer on the Agent Cody Banks movies.
Yeah.
I produced yes, there's 13 producers in the main credits, and I'm the only one with a single card credit because I had a good lawyer. And then
Wow.
I produced a horror movie called The Hills Run Red that Sophie Monk, who's an Australian pop star, stars in. She's a DJ, a radio personality now, and now I'm editing. And I did a lot of DVD special editions, and now I've been editing. I've gone back to editing features because I love editing.
Hmm.
So I edited. There's a film on Netflix I edited now called Paradox, which is a time travel thriller.
I
And
like
then
time travel.
I got a serial killer movie coming out that I cut called My 11th that Bryan Singer exec produced that should be out later this summer. It's
Hmm.
coming out from Terror Films, I think. And
Okay.
then I'm working on a movie called Tango Shalom. And then, of course, I've lost the inner geekdom belt at the Schmodown, but I'm going to get it back.
You will.
So that's my
One of
story.
these days. What
Yeah.
is the road to getting that back, though? Do you have to go back into
Well,
your
I
fatal
lost to
five
Jeremy
way?
Johns, man. And I love Jeremy Johns. But
Mhm.
God, I'm going to get him back. No, that's my, you suffer from depression. I suffer from inner geekdom loss. It's
Mm,
terrible. It's like
mm,
tinnitus, but
mhm.
worse. It's not good.
But seriously, does this mean you have to go improve yourself in a fatal five way again?
I think so.
Wow.
I think I have to go be, and if I
Going
lose the
back.
fatal five way, that means I've lost to Hector, I've lost to Jeremy Johns, and I lost a fatal five way. So I should be out.
What's your prediction for Johns versus Navarro?
You know what? Jeremy Johns is a tough. He knows a lot. With beneath his handsome, smiling, happy-go-lucky exterior,
Hmm.
I think that guy's a killer. I think he's a slugger. I think he comes to play. I think, but then again, so is Hector. And you know what I love about the two of them? They're both, all kidding aside, all my heel persona aside, both Hector and Jeremy are really nice guys, and
Hmm.
they really know their stuff. They really love their material, and I don't think anyone would have anything bad to say about either one of them, which is why both should be destroyed. But no, I think that watching the two of them, I don't think either one of them is going to be able to fight. I think they're going to seize up. I think they're just going to smile at each other and
Is that
shake
what's going to
hands.
happen? It's just going to
Yeah,
be, it's going to implode on itself.
yeah, I think they're just going to sit there and go, you know what?
Oh,
We don't have to battle. What did you see this week, Hector? I don't know, Jeremy. What'd you see? Oh, we saw Alien Covenant. How was it?
oh, okay. So just a casual discussion on film
You
instead of
know,
an
they're
actual
not going to have
match.
a
Oh,
battle.
okay.
They just, I mean, and Harloff's going to be sitting there behind the podium, just be like, guys, we have to play. They're not going to
Sure.
play.
I think Hector's going to win it. But Hector just knows so much.
Hector knows a lot.
So
Hector,
much.
he's a good guy.
He is. He's very
He's a good
smart.
guy. But so is Jeremy Johns.
Jeremy is too. Jeremy is too. Everyone's great. Everyone's great.
They are great.
Everyone is awesome.
Everyone is awesome.
Hmm. So let's get into our first question.
Yes. What is it? I
Which is,
forgot. What was it?
what is a film that inspires you?
A film. Okay, you know what? A film that really inspires me, because of the joy. You know what? I love Almost Famous. I think I
Okay.
told you. I love the movie Almost Famous. Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous. I like the long version, the untitled. It's called the untitled version.
Oh, I don't know this one.
It's just longer. It's like 24 minutes longer
Okay.
because they had to cut it down. To me, Almost Famous is. I just relate to it. I relate to a kid.
You're
who,
him. You're the
yeah,
boy.
I'm the boy. I'm the boy,
Mhm.
and I wasn't interested in rock and roll, but I was very motivated to go after. I mean, I wrote articles for my high school newspaper, and I was able to meet filmmakers and things like that when I was younger, and I really relate to. There's a certain joie de vivre with that movie, sort of a joy of
Mhm.
it. It's not about adolescent angst, really. I mean, it's not. There's nothing bad in it. I mean, there's things in it that might be unpleasant, but for the most part, it's a really uplifting film. And at the end, it's really about experiencing the world and growing from those experiences. And my life has been pretty good. Like I haven't
Yeah.
had a bad time growing up. I had very supportive parents, and I had a lot of friends. And but one of the things that I was able and afforded the opportunity to do was pursue my interests. And I feel
Mhm.
like that film is all about, you have a single mom. Frances McDormand plays a single mother, but she's very encouraging of her son, and
Mhm.
she does give him the ability to hit the road with a rock band, and it's based on Cameron Crowe's real experiences.
Right.
And I watch that movie all the time. And first of all, it's beautifully made, it's beautifully acted, it's really well put together. I love all the characters, and plus I love rock and roll, and to see that sort of insight into the inner workings of a rock and roll band is also cool. So you've got
Mhm.
a coming of age story and the rock and roll scene of the 70s, which
Yeah.
I think is great. So it's just a fantastic, fantastic movie. I never get tired of watching. And if you're in a bad mood, it will put you in a good one.
The one thing that I take away from that film is the stomach pumping scene and thinking, I hope to never have my stomach pumped ever in my life.
Yeah, no, that was bad. But Penny Lane was depressed because she
Yeah.
was in love and she got jilted by
Do you think the title refers to him as the writer, or do you think it refers to the band, or do you think it refers to everyone?
Well, the movie was originally called The Uncool.
Okay.
He wanted it to be called Untitled,
Okay.
and they're like, you can't call a movie Untitled. And
Mm-hmm.
then he wanted it to be called The Uncool. And I think Almost Famous. I mean, it literally at the end of the movie, because I don't know, this is a good question. At the end of the movie, when Stillwater has given up flying and they're going on their next
Mm-hmm.
tour, it says, the Almost Famous is on the actual bus
Hmm.
of the
Okay.
tour bus. So I'm thinking that they probably um, that was the title they came up with to be clever. Or Cameron Crowe threw that out. I think that was a problem with the movie. Like
Hmm.
Almost Famous, what does that mean? I don't think it really speaks to what the film is enough, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it didn't do real well when it first came out. But uh, yeah, I'm not a fan of that title. It's fun.
Titles can be tricky.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, look at the Shawshank Redemption. Nobody went and saw
Sure.
that either. And the original title is Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption, and nobody went and saw. They're like, you
Okay,
can't.
the Shawshank Redemption sometimes bothers me because like he had more than one girl poster, right? I was like Raquel Welch when like there's like a question about
Yeah, there
who's
was
on
there
there. I'm
was
like,
there
isn't it
was
Raquel Welch? And that people are like Rita Hayworth. I was like, but Raquel Welch.
there was Rita Hayworth, there was Marilyn Monroe and Raquel Welch. So he has it,
Okay.
but Rita Hayworth was his first.
Okay.
You know,
Got it. And Raquel Welch was the last one when he
right
goes when he, you know,
from twenty
does his
thousand.
thing.
Yeah,
I don't want to, you know.
that's true. Yeah, but yeah, you shouldn't get your see. You immediately gravitate to the worst scene in the movie when she gets her stomach bumped. It's bad.
Why is that?
Drugs are bad. Jenny eats
I
something,
think
as
it's
Vince Vaughn
because
said.
I'm
Swingers.
just like I know I believe my sister has had her stomach pumped and I
Ooh,
didn't know what that meant. And
yeah,
like I
not
saw
good.
this movie, I was like, oh crap, like that's too bad for you.
It's bad. You don't want that.
Yeah,
But
you don't want that.
yeah, I mean, not to say that it's not the most. I don't think an uplifting movie is always uplifting. I mean, Shawshank Redemption's an uplifting movie, but it's about a dude in
Sure.
prison, and he spends the first third of the movie getting, repeatedly brutalized and raped by the
Right.
sisters, and yeah, but it's still an uplifting film, even though it's pretty
Or just inspiring. Yeah.
hope,
Hope.
hope.
That's what that S means. Hope.
Yeah, yes, it does. In Shawshank, the S means Shawshank, and it stands for hope.
Oh man.
Um,
Where were you like when you saw this, where were you in your life? You're like working for Warner Brothers.
No, you know what? I had moved over. I had made. I Here's the thing in my life. So I wanted to make movies my whole life, and I figured when I came to LA, it would take me 10 years to make my first film, and it took me indeed 10 years to make Free Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in the festival circuit for a year, and we won a lot of awards. Everybody told me how great I was. I went to parties with Quentin Tarantino, and then the
Oh,
movie gets picked up for distribution and makes no money and dies a quick death its
mm,
opening weekend in Los Angeles and New York. We got great reviews, but that was it. My film career, as far as going to meetings and having people want to greenlight my next project, was over. So it's
wow.
like you work for 10 years, you go on the festival circuit for a year, and you think, oh, okay, I'm a filmmaker now. And you make a movie that is quirky and sort of autobiographical, and then it comes out and no one goes to see it. And I think no one went to see it because nobody knew it was playing. It didn't have a
Sure.
marketing budget. If we had had the internet to help us, I think
That
people
would
would
have
have gone
been
to
much
see it.
helpful.
I really want to. I'd love to re-release the film. Like I don't even own the rights to the movie anymore. It's owned by La La Land Records, has the domestic
Hmm.
home video rights to it now, and they don't know what they've never released a home.
Not no relation to the movie La
No,
La
no. La
Land.
La Land Records puts out lots of soundtracks, and they
Okay.
wanted to start their own home video label. So they own two movies that I was involved with. One was called The Specials that James Gunn wrote. It was a low budget superhero film spoof,
Mm-hmm.
and then Free Enterprise. And I want to prep it for high def release because there's only
Mm-hmm.
a standard def version of it, and they've never done that before. So, and I don't physically control the film. So theoretically, anybody could put out Free Enterprise without my involvement. But I
Right.
produced. Not only did I direct the film, I co-wrote it, I edited the movie, and I've done all the home video releases myself. So if somebody else did it, I would be very upset.
Yes.
So I'd love to have it rediscovered and maybe make direct more movies. But that was a very humbling experience. So I was lucky I made money as an editor, and after Free Enterprise came out, I went back to cutting like network promos. I worked for
Mm.
Kids WB, and one of the things people don't realize is, especially in this day and age, very few people that want to become writer directors in Hollywood succeed. And
Yes.
very few people, and when you do succeed, it's a hard thing to stay in the game, to keep making movies.
Right.
And you can't, you know, when I went back and I was editing promos for NBC, they were paying me a lot of money. I worked on the 2001 Olympics,
Mm.
and they gave me a lot of money, but
Oh.
I didn't want anyone to know I'd ever made a movie, because as far as they
Huh.
were concerned, I was just making network promos for the Olympics.
Right.
That's it.
Huh.
And I wanted my promos to
Interesting.
be really good. So you don't. And then I fell in, as the DVD special features world sort of came up. I got hired. I was very lucky. A friend of mine worked at a company, and suddenly I found myself, I'm in New Zealand, for 6 months working on Lord of the Rings, which was amazing for a lifelong film geek like me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly I made my first movie, but then it was like going back to college, and I'm like, okay, I'm here at the giant bigature of Minas Tirith, watching snorkel cameras shoot the point of view of fell beasts as they swoop through the city streets. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I was worked on X-Men 2, and I was on Superman Returns for a year in Australia. So I'm in Australia for a year working on set all day, and then I would make a documentary. And then I was able to get a movie that I produced. We were going to do this tiny movie. I flipped it to Warner Brothers, and Joel Silver's my executive producer. And suddenly I'm producing a horror film in Bulgaria. Now, I wasn't directing it,
Mm-hmm.
but I was producing it, and I did originate. I was given the script, but I originated this project out here, and suddenly we're in a foreign country. So my career has been so weird. Like, I haven't become like my good buddy Brian Singer, who said, I'm going to
Sure.
become a film director. And that's all he did. That was his laser focus, and his and so his
Things.
that was has been my career. A lot of people are like, oh, poor Robert Meyer, he only got to direct one movie. Look, man, this guy's 80. He's directing. So I haven't given up.
There's time.
Yeah, I've got a lot of
There's
projects and editing, and you never know.
Do you think the downfall is that you are a jack of all trades, master of none?
I think that's part of it. I
Okay.
mean, I think that there is this idea that filmmakers, directors especially, are sort of, they still are gods in the business. The
Mm-hmm.
auteurs, it really begins and ends with them. Not so much as these younger directors are being plucked to do big studio movies. Like, you make
Mm-hmm.
monsters, and then you're directing for $150,000, then you get Godzilla, and then Rogue One.
Yeah,
So you don't.
you
How do
know,
you learn your craft
you're on
these
the
days?
fast track.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think all you have to do is make one movie that is deemed cool by the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly, oh, you're back in the game. You're back. And I've got a couple of projects that I've wanted to make for a long time, that I'm still pursuing. So, you never know. I mean, having a movie coming out this summer, and which is a serial killer film, and then having a Jewish spiritual quest indie dance comedy as my follow
Yeah.
up. It's like, well, what do you edit? Are you an action, horror, or musical guy? And I'm like, why does it have to be one or the other?
Right.
All my favorite directors work in multiple genres.
I want to
So,
ask the chat how the stream is, because I feel like we're getting some comments that maybe the stream is having problems, which would be sad, and I would
um,
be disappointed. But we'll wait because there's a delay, so they won't hear this question.
oh yeah, they won't hear the
really.
question.
Yeah.
I like that somebody mentions I'm gay.
No,
In
and then
in the film, and
in
Almost
Almost
Famous, when the
Famous,
plane's going
yes.
down, he just blurt. Oh, we got somebody's.
It's working now. Yay! Thanks, Morvids. You're so helpful. Um, yeah, let's move to the next question.
Yes. What is the next
The
question?
next question is, what is a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it is painful, maybe it's happy. You can go either route. Painful,
Painful.
is
I've been pretty happy, most of my life, but I think, there's a scene and it's kind of become cliche now because everybody talks about it, but it's in Blade Runner, and
okay.
it's the very famous scene at the end of Blade Runner when Roy Batty has been battling Rick Deckard, and
Hmm.
and Rick Deckard's about to fall off the building, but Roy Batty grabs him, and he realizes Roy Batty is on the verge of the end of his 4-year lifespan, and he gives that very famous speech He says, he looks at Harrison Ford and he goes, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. I've seen attack ships off the shoulder of Orion. I've seen sea beams glittering in the dark near the Tannhauser gates. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in the rain. And
Tears in the rain.
I've often thought about that, because my philosophy of life has always been that every single person that you meet, whether they're a homeless man on the street, whether they're somebody you bump into on public transportation, whether it's a stranger who might show you the way in a foreign country, every single person you meet knows something that you don't know,
Right.
has a story to tell that you haven't heard yet. And every time we lose a person, we lose their stories and we lose those memories. And I've always often thought about one of the great horrors of our modern age. I mean, look, humanity has never been nice to each other. But growing up a Star Trek fan and being fairly positive in my life, I've always thought that, one day we're going to go to the stars. One day we're going to get over our petty differences and move outward. And I always thought that Roy Batty's speech, because all the replicants want is they want what everybody wants. It's a metaphor for life. They want to live longer than 4 years. Like, it sucks. And do they or do they not have souls? Are replicants real people? Can they really feel, and do they really have? And I think they are. I mean, whatever you want to call a soul, but just like Cylons, they're not machines. If they can procreate with humans, they're alive. But every time we lose somebody, and I didn't get to hear their story, whether it's a terrorist bombing or whether kids in Syria or some kid is takes his own life after being bullied, on the internet or something, you think, wow, we've all lost something. We've all been diminished. It was like, I think it's Schindler's List. I think I don't know if it's the Torah says this, but to save one life is to save to save us all, or something like that. Which I've always thought is true. So that I think that's why that movie resonates with people. I don't think Blade Runner is a particularly good film. I'll say it right now. It's a beautiful movie to look at, but as an engrossing story, I think it's a little muddled. And even Ridley Scott going, well, Rick Deckard's a replicant. And I'm like, no, he's not. If he was a replicant, we'll probably find out that he was a replicant in this sequel. But if Rick Deckard was a replicant, the whole point of the movie is lost. The whole point of the movie is that he, as a human being, is confronting at the end of the movie somebody who's displaying more humanity than anyone else in the film, who is in fact a replicant, which is the whole irony of that movie.
So you don't think he is a replicant?
No.
I think he is, because that one guy says you're the Blade Runner.
I know. I just don't think he is, because
I mean, is that a stutter?
I don't.
I mean, I don't know.
I just don't think he is. I think he's got to be a human being. I mean, because human beings are bad. They're bad. The replicants are only really defending themselves. I mean, the replicants in that movie are, what do? They're not. It's not like they're killing people.
Die.
Yeah, they're hiding. They want to see Edwin Terrell, and they want more life. Whether they say I want more life, father, or I want more life, fucker, and depending on which version of the movie you're watching. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. They're aspiring to challenge their creator. And I think all of us at one point in our lives are going to look up and be like, if you believe in a supreme being or not, we all want somebody to give us a little bit more time.
So Blade Runner doesn't have a personal memory for you, just an overall memory of this scene reminds me.
Well,
it just reminds me in life that when we lose someone, we lose their stories.
I'll tell you, it does actually have. Blade Runner came out in the summer of 1982, which for certain fans, if you love science fiction, fantasy, and horror, within the space of 2 months, we had, check this out, Conan the Barbarian, Star Trek II, Poltergeist, The Thing, Tron, The Road Warrior, E.T., and Blade Runner.
Time.
It was great. And so you saw, but of all those movies, I think Blade Runner was the least satisfying when I first saw it. And I remember really looking forward to seeing it. And I saw it at the Cinerama in Seattle, and it's staggering to watch. I mean, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this movie is incredible. I love this movie as I'm watching it. But then you're waiting to be engaged. And also you had Harrison Ford, who just the summer before was Indiana Jones. And the summer before that was Han Solo.
And narration that you're like, what?
Yeah, and if I wasn't up on my film noir back then, so
yeah, it is a different style. I think it's interesting though, walking around downtown Los Angeles and like noticing how much it looks like Blade Runner.
Oh, especially around LA Live with all the giant weird. I mean, you expect to see this police spinners coming around the corner
Right? Some
and hear that.
flying vehicles. You're just like, okay.
I mean, to run Blade Runner 2049, they should do that. They should get like big drones that look like the spinners and just fly them around downtown for the premiere. That's where I would have the premiere.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's creepy in a way.
It's really getting weird. All I
Hmm.
want to see is that geisha girl going, whatever she does, and scary.
I want to know. Let's get into our final question. And before I get into the final question, if you have questions for Robert that you would like to ask in chat, you're welcome to do that. We may be able to get to some. We might not. I'm not sure. And I don't have anyone monitoring it right now. Like Ben's not here. So I just have to scroll up and stuff. So maybe it'll work. Who knows?
Look at somebody what Terrell says, the Lao Tzu quote about the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. That's a great quote too. But that's like that's Terrell making an excuse to Batty. Like, I'm sorry, dude. This is why your life's only going to be 4 years. It's a bummer.
So what is a film that helps you through difficult times? What do you put on?
A movie that I really like. There is a movie called All About Eve, and it's
I haven't seen it.
Best Picture of 1950, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
And it has one of the most Oscar most Oscar wins.
Yes,
right?
I believe
Tied
so.
With Titanic.
I do not know if that's true, but I will take your word for that.
It could be. It could be.
It's All About Eve. If you guys have not seen this, yes, it's black and white, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think it's one of the best screenplays ever written. But it's all about the theater. It's all about these people in the theater, and you would love it because it has, other than Catherine Tremell in Basic Instinct, my favorite villainess in any movie.
Okay.
I mean, just an unbelievable.
Is it Joan Crawford?
No, it's Anne Baxter who plays this woman who worms her way into Betty Davis's life.
Is Betty Davis's Eve? Is that
Betty
right?
Davis is no.
Oh
no, Anne Baxter, the evil person, is Eve. Yes.
Got it.
And Eve is this horrible woman that wants to steal. She's a climber and a glommer, and she just wants the career that Betty Davis has, and she worms her way and she bamboozles everybody into thinking she's wonderful. Now, she is in fact a great actress, but the only person that sees through her is George Sanders plays a character named Addison DeWitt, who is this scathing New York theater critic who's holier than thou and better than everybody, but he sees through her, and first of all, she's hot, and he loves her. He loves the fact that she is this viper, and he respects what she's doing, but he thinks he's better than her, and he's going to tame her. But it's all about the core group of Betty Davis's friends and the people that love her, and it's about what does the theater mean. And I love that film. And then a movie I watch almost as much that I watch alongside that movie is All That Jazz.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite. Again, in my top 10, both of those movies are my top 10. But All That Jazz was directed by Bob Fosse. It came out in 1979, and it's all about a theater and a movie director played by Roy Scheider. And it's about his life and his loves. It's about how much he loves women and his art.
Yes.
And I'm like, I love this guy. I want to be this guy.
Kind of like 9, only if 9 were good.
Yeah. No, All That Jazz, and I'm as a film editor, All That Jazz is one of the greatest edited films I've ever seen. It goes in and out of time and in and out of reality. It's an astonishing movie, and it came out. Criterion put it out as Blu-ray, so get the Blu-ray if you love movies. All That Jazz is. These movies are sophisticated adult films dealing with adult themes. And if you look, I love comic book movies as much as the next guy. I mean, I love them. I love Civil War. I love Avengers. I can't wait to see Justice League. But those movies are not my favorite movies. My favorite movies are the movies that I think speak to the great human truths. And yes, of course, there are human truths that are addressed in movies like Civil War. I think that Tony Stark and Steve Rogers' beef in that movie with each other is legitimate. But I think that there's nuanced behavior that some of my favorite movies, like The English Patient, a lot of people are like, why do you like The English Patient? I'm like, I love The English Patient. It's so great. People are like, it's so boring. I'm like, really? Is it? I don't know. I don't think so.
Another one I need to see.
You got to see it. It's great.
There's so many I've missed. but
Well,
I'm
it's
still young.
you're still young. I mean, that the great thing about movies is even though they keep making more of them, there is an entire 100-year history of films, and
Mhm.
there's so many great movies to watch.
I will at least admit it to people that I haven't seen things where there's a lot of people will just be like, uh huh, uh huh, uh
Yeah.
huh. And I'm like, no, yeah,
Well,
it's
I don't think people love movies anymore. I think no, I shouldn't say that. I think people love movies differently now
hmm, okay.
than they used to. I don't think people movies used to be cultural sort of what do you if you call them water cooler movies or not, things that you discuss. I think
Hmm.
television has sort of supplanted what movies used to be. I mean, a
Sure.
lot of people you talk about what's going on with Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or there's so many shows now, whether it's Stranger Things or 13 Reasons Why or
There's so much content,
it's so much
content
content.
overload.
Yes, yes. And I think that what was interesting is that I think a lot of people used to all go, more people went to the movies. So they
Mm.
they would have more of a place in culture, especially foreign films. Like I'm a huge fan of Michelangelo Antonioni, and he made the Ennui trilogy. He made La Notte, La Ventura, and now watch me not remember the third part of the Ennui
It's
trilogy.
okay.
But I'm a big fan of those movies as well. And people are
Mhm.
like, I don't think anybody I challenge anyone under 25 to watch La Ventura and get through it. And this is not a put down in any way, shape, or form, but it's just like how it's really hard. Like I've never gotten into silent movies. Silent movies were difficult, other than like Murnau stuff, like
Mhm.
Sunrise or Nosferatu or Metropolis, which is sci-fi. So it's hard. It's hard to go back and if you're not of the period. So I understand why people
Mm.
won't watch black and white
Yeah.
movies. So I'm just rambling. I'm
The
sorry.
last black and white film I watched was Imitation of Life, which I really liked.
That's a great movie.
The remake,
Yeah.
which was in the 50s with Sandra D.
Yep.
Or yeah,
Yep.
Sandra D.
No.
She was the girl,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
the young girl. I don't know who the mom was. I mean, I do, but I can't
Right.
think of it. So
Right.
you know how it goes.
Well, I was talking to somebody online, and they're talking about um, the Parent Trap.
I love the Parent Trap,
I
the
know.
original.
Yeah, I was start going about Haley Mills and all that in the
Yeah, and they're
summer
like,
camp, and
no, Lindsay
no, it's
Lohan.
Lindsay,
I'm
and
like,
which is a
no.
good movie,
It was fine. It was different.
right?
But and I liked it fine, but I liked the original so
See, I
much.
just don't believe the Parent Trap would happen
It
today.
can't. I mean, it cannot.
Right. Whereas in the with the Disney film, I mean, people forget there Disney made all these great live action movies. Like when I was a
Yeah,
kid, like Freaky Friday with
yeah.
Jodie
Freaky Friday's
Foster
great.
and
Another Lindsay Lohan remake,
yeah, and then there's movies like Candle Shoe that Jodie
right?
Foster was
Jodie
in, and
Foster was great.
Treasure of Matacumbe and Island at the
I
Top of the
liked
World,
Summer
and
Magic and Pollyanna.
oh yeah,
Like I
all
liked a
that's
lot of Haley Mills.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is still one of my
Hmm.
favorite movies, and it's Disney.
Yeah, they're
The
great
Swiss
ones.
Family
Yes,
Robinson.
that needs to come back, and I want to get Tarzan's house to now be back to Swiss Family
Yeah, I mean,
Robinson.
well, that's so weird though. Like, why do you do that? Like, why? I
Well, it's
understand
just
they
like
got
they're changing the Tower of Terror at Disneyland to be a Guardians
Guardians.
of the Galaxy thing, and I was like, the Tower of Terror was so
It
interesting
was
to me because I
cool.
love Twilight Zone.
It's the
I'm a
best
big
thing ever.
Twilight Zone
Hey,
fan.
if anybody wants to be a filmmaker, or learn how to tell stories,
Watch
watch the original
Twilight
Twilight Zone.
Zone. Yes.
It's the best. It's the best master class in learning how to tell a story. It sets up characters and a premise and pays it off in 22 minutes or 24 minutes. It's amazing, except for season
Yeah.
4, which is an hour long.
I'm gonna go up because I did see a question for you, and we are finished with our. If I can go up, this is why I need Ben, who's in the chat right now. Okay, Terrence John says, question for Robert. Do you use film as a way to escape reality for a while? I find that superhero movies just make me happy when I've had a terrible day.
Oh, I think yes. I mean, I think that absolutely. I think movies are a great way to make yourself feel better. I mean, it's better than laying out an Al Pacino sized pile of cocaine like in Scarface and chop up some fatty rails and escaping that way. No, I think movies are great for escapism because not only do they make you watch a superhero movie, but there's elements in every film that make you think,
Of
that make
course.
you consider your own. Look, Star Wars. I remember the first time I saw Star Wars. One of the things that struck me, even though I was like 10, when Luke is told to shut the power down and he walks outside and you see the two twinning, you see the two setting, the two twin sons of Tatooine setting, and you hear that the French horn, na 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 na. Everyone's been there. we're all standing there watching the sunset, thinking, man, you know what? There has got to be a better place than I'm sitting right now. My life kind of sucks. My friends are at the academy. Biggs and Tank are gone, and I've got to be here for another year farming moisture. Now, how exciting can that be? I mean, I'd rather be, going out and baling hay or cutting the corn down,
Mhm.
but moisture, what do you do? Like come out and get a little bucket every day and like dump it into some
Go to
container?
leaves. Go to the leaves,
I mean,
if
that's
there
just
are
not.
any.
And that's what Luke Skywalker is doing. He's farming moisture. So when you watch that and you're like, wow, I mean, you get where he's coming from. And I
Mhm.
think, I think, what, I don't know if people feel this way, but I don't know if you feel this way. But when I watch movies, my comfort for food movies, like whether it's Almost Famous or whether it's, Swingers or Risky Business or a Woody Allen movie like Annie Hall or The
Mhm.
Godfather, these characters like my friends. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I know the Corleones.
Yeah.
Like when you go, when
Let's go
you,
visit them for a
yeah,
bit.
exactly. You want to
Yeah.
go hang out with them, and you're like, your favorite scene's coming. You're like, oh, my favorite scene's coming up.
Yeah.
Goodfellas, the scene. I'm funny
I
how funny
agree.
like
That's
a
why I
clown.
watch Clue a lot.
See,
Love
and
Clue.
you know them. They're
I
your
do.
buddies.
Last night we had a trivia question that came in on Cineverse. I was on Cineverse on Hyper RPG's Twitch channel with Hector Navarro and Adam Halavic and Augustin Rios and Erica Ishii. And the question that came in that I got right was how many people die in Clue? And I said, well, there's two answers to that.
Wow.
Well, first I was like, it's either six or it's seven, but it depends. Like I said seven first because I was thinking about seeing the entire film. But if you've only seen like certain versions, then there's six.
Wow. So I wouldn't have known that. I
So
would have lost the schmodown if that was a.
well, that's
That's
a
a
trick
5 point
question. That's a
question.
trick question.
That's a 5 point question.
I had my notepad. I wrote down every person that died in the film, and then I was like, "Yeah, I got it's seven for sure." But again, if you
Yeah, that's good.
could be six.
No, but I think the thing about movies is that it whether it's escapism or not, I think it can make you feel better, but it also illuminates. Great movies illuminate the human condition. They all
Hmm.
give us insight. It's like, look, you think about like I love Jaws, but that movie is really about a dude that's scared of the water, that has to forget all that. He has to overcome his
Yes.
fear, and his family's uh, uh, his family's safety and their well-being
Hmm.
matters more to him than his great fear. And he has to go out onto the water,
Yes.
the last place he wants to be. And the way Scheider plays it is he's terrified the whole time. Like it. Even
Yeah.
when they're comparing, when Hooper and Quint are comparing scars, he shows his appendix scar and he's like, nah, you know what? I'm really not going to talk about my appendix scar when they're down in the boat and then
Hmm.
Jaws smashes through. I mean, you watch that, who can't relate to that? That's why Spielberg's movies are so great, because you've got the everyman that everybody relates to. Even if it's Tom
Hmm.
Cruise in Minority Report and he's a super cop, you're still with him. Like when he gets thrown out of the forest and he gets framed and all that, you're with him. And that's why I think that, you know, even the best movies are in some they're helpful, they're therapeutic,
Yeah,
you know.
they are.
So
Well,
I you know what, I feel like I've gone through a therapy. I feel like you are my therapist now.
yes, this is why I do this.
I feel
This is
like
why
I've
I
yeah,
do this.
I feel like I've wow, I
Hmm.
didn't expect to get all introspective today.
Thank you for getting introspective, and thank you for being a patient, a guest patient on this show.
This was fantastic. I love this idea.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I started it. Hey,
Thank you for having me.
and where can everyone that's in the waiting room find you?
You can find me on Twitter here at Burnett RM, BURNETTRM. And I'm almost at 10,000 followers. I'm like, 10,000 followers.
It's
Wow.
exciting.
Some
I
people have
just
a lot
passed
more.
that threshold
See,
the
I
other
was
day.
really
Very
excited. I'm like,
exciting.
there's 10,000 people who I either
Why?
tweet about movies or Donald Trump or something, one or
Okay.
the other. Or you can find me on Instagram at RM Burnett, where I'm usually posting cat pictures or model rocket
Hmm.
pictures or something to do with movies
Perfect.
or whatever. Or you can find me on Facebook at Robert Meyer Burnett. Although it takes me a long time to go through. There's so many Facebook bots now and stuff. I have to go through and find out, like,
Yeah.
are you a friend of mine already? Do you know
I
somebody I
don't
know?
usually accept any friends on Facebook because I don't like Facebook, number one.
Oh.
And I try to keep that for my family, but then I don't really post on Facebook. I just don't really like Facebook. So
Yeah.
sorry, guys. I just don't like it.
You know what? I like posting. I like Facebook because I like finding daily news. People are
Mm,
posting links, and there's like, here's
sure.
the trailer for such and such. I mean, it comes out on Twitter too, but
Yeah, you could go under moments,
and I
and
do
that
like
will
keeping
help
up
you
with
on
people
Twitter.
from high school and things because I've
Okay.
been on
Yeah.
Facebook now for like a decade.
Yeah,
So there's
because
I
it's been
st-
around a decade now.
right, but I don't think we use older people like us or me. I don't use social media the way a lot of younger people do. Like I'm
Sure.
not on Instagram all the time. I'll just occasionally post something.
Hmm.
But Facebook is more it's more like a newspaper. Like you'll go and
Yeah,
go, oh, okay,
yeah, sure.
what's going on today? So that's how I use it. But I do like, I like the fact that you now have a repository where you can just throw stuff for your life into Facebook. Like, here's a picture
Sure.
of this, or my mom will check in and she'll be like, "Oh, I saw you were doing this and this." I'm like,
Hmm.
"Wow, mom!" And then you'll get some like weird stalkers, like that'll go back and they'll look and they'll find a post you made like 2009, and you're like, "Wow, you guys, you're in a deep dive back
Deep
in my."
dive.
Somebody I read an article. There was an article about social media mavens and how they use,
Hmm.
and they came up with it was a great term I'd never heard about that, about when somebody does likes a Facebook post that's like 5 years old, and that's a total faux pas. It's a no.
Yeah.
But I don't know, remember what it was called, but there was a great term. So if you remember, tweet that term to me. I want to know, what is a deep dive liking someone's Facebook post
I think
called?
that's more for Instagram. It's easier for people to like older
Oh, that's
posts
true too.
too.
And
And
that
then
is the
it's
same
like,
thing.
whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything past 5 weeks, you're like,
Because look, I mean, if
maybe.
there's girls I'm interested in or something, I'll go look at their Facebook page, but I'm not going to like anything from like 5 years ago. I'm just going to go see who'd you date, where'd you go, what's your
Oh,
favorite food,
oh,
what
yeah,
information
sure,
can I
sure.
glean from this if I'm going to take you out on a date. I mean, I'm not single, but I'm just saying if I was,
Yeah, in case.
yeah. But I think it's really interesting. I mean, it'd be so much easier to, I mean, you geeks today, you young geeks that are into comic books and science fiction and video games, you have it so much easier today. I used to go to Comic Con. There was like two girls, and they were someone's girlfriend.
Yeah, they
Now,
didn't want to be there.
you're a mom. You cosplay. How
Yeah,
cool is that? And not
it's.
only do you cosplay well.
Oh,
Your
thanks.
cosplay is
Thanks.
creative and, as people say, on point.
On point is how I
It's
like it.
it's on point AF.
You won't believe what I got cooking for my next few ones.
Oh, you and Stacy, man, you guys
Yeah,
kill it.
we got
Kill the cosplay.
we got a good thing going on for our next promo and entrance.
Well, I
We've
have to
been
say
working on it.
what I love about here's what I love about cosplay. I love creative cosplay.
Hmm.
I love people's choices of subject, first of all, and then if it's well executed, and then sometimes
Hmm.
they'll do something that's not necessarily a character, but it's like, if Iron Man was a steampunk Iron Man, you're like, oh,
Yeah, I
it's
do like
steampunk
that.
Iron
Yes,
Man. I like that too. That's cool.
I like it when people change it. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Miss Movies. That's where I am pretty much all the time. And I have other social media outlets. You can just look at my Twitter bio and kind of find where I am. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for joining us on this session. We will see you next time. Bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. 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 Bye.